The desert sun had never felt so oppressive, a relentless furnace beating down on my back as I squinted toward the horizon. The sky was a harsh, unyielding blue, but beneath it, the red sands churned like a living beast, restless and hungry. I stood atop a jagged outcrop of sandstone, the heat radiating from the rocks beneath my boots, searing through my soles. The worn locket pressed against my chest was a steady weight, a reminder of the ghosts I carried and the stakes I faced. The distant rumble of thunder was a growing threat, an approaching sandstorm that promised no mercy. Around me, the desert seemed to hold its breath, the swirling dust picking up in spirals that danced ominously beneath the sun. This was no ordinary storm. It was nature's final warning, a reckoning that would test every ounce of my cunning and resolve. Celine Voss was somewhere out there, no doubt watching, waiting, as obsessed with the Chronos artifact as I was. Her expedition's camp lay hidden behind a ridge, a fortress of tents and equipment, guarded by mercenaries every bit as dangerous as their leader. I could almost see her now, poised and calculating, the sharp line of her silver scar catching the sunlight like a blade. She was elegant and cold, a woman whose brilliance was matched only by her ruthless ambition. Inside the temple, I knew she was delving deeper into secrets that should have remained buried. Her fingers traced ancient inscriptions on stone pedestals, her breath shallow and fast, a prisoner of her own obsession. I'd seen the way her eyes flickered with something darker than determination loss, regret, the kind of pain that could twist a person's soul into something unrecognizable. My mind drifted back to Lena, Seleni's younger sister. She was a ghost in the shifting sands, her soft features often obscured behind dust-streaked goggles. I sensed her conflict, the tension between her loyalty to Celine and the growing sympathy she harbored for me. Her secret aid had saved my life more than once, but it came with a price of risk that could unravel everything. The camp was restless. Yari Mekari, my steadfast guide, was pacing like a caged animal, his wiry frame tense beneath the desert sun. His dry humor had thinned over the past days, replaced by an edge of frustration I felt, but couldn't name. When I confronted him beneath a swirling cloud of dust, our raised voices echoed off the canyon walls, accusations flung like daggers. "You think I don't know what you're doing, Kale?" Playing both sides. Jera's voice was rough, edged with betrayal. "And you, selling us out to that traitor, Rashid." I shot back, the desert fury matching the turmoil within me. The tension was unbearable, as if the desert itself had conspired to strip away the last vestiges of trust between us. But beneath the anger, I knew the truth was more complicated. Survival here demanded sacrifices that no man could make alone. Nightfall brought no relief. The camp lay under a star-studded sky so vast it swallowed us whole, a silent witness to the betrayals and secrets festering beneath the tents. Lena disappeared into the shadows, her footsteps soft against the cracked earth. I caught the weight of her gaze, a mixture of sorrow, hope, and fear, as she slipped away from us all, the desert chill a stark contrast to the burning turmoil of the day. The price of power was becoming painfully clear. The Chronos artifact was no mere treasure. It was a force that twisted reality itself, bending time and fate to the will of whoever claimed it. But that power came with a cost, a toll, measured not just in lives, but in the very essence of what we were willing to become. I felt it in my bones, the shifting sands beneath my feet whispering warnings. This quest was no longer just about survival or redemption. It was a descent into something far darker, where ambition and desperation collided in a deadly dance. And as the storm roared closer, I knew the choices we made in the coming hours would define not only our fates, but the fate of the red sands themselves. The desert was unforgiving, but the thirst for power was a harsher master. And in that unforgiving heat, with the winds howling like ghosts around us, I braced myself for the inevitable. the moment when all our secrets would be laid bare, and we would have to pay the true price for what we sought. The sands shifted beneath my boots, as if eager to swallow us whole. I clenched my fists, the locket cold against my skin, and stared into the approaching storm. Whatever came next, I was ready, or as ready as a man could be, when the very fabric of time seemed to unravel around him. Because in the red sands, power was a poison, and I was already feeling its sting. The air inside the chamber thickened, heavy with a strange hum that seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of the very sands outside. Cale Draven's breath hitched as he stepped forward, his boots crunching softly against the ancient stone floor that flickered beneath his feet like a mirage. Around him, the walls shimmered and rippled as if the temple itself was breathing, warping the very fabric of time and space. Lena Voss stood a few paces away, her usually steady gaze clouded with uncertainty. Her dust-streaked goggles reflected the wavering light, distorting her soft features into an expression of fragile resolve. "Cale," she whispered, her voice trembling as the air around them twisted. "Stay close," Cale commanded, though his own voice betrayed the tremor of unease that gripped him. The Chronos artifact was near, its power palpable in the chaos that had begun to unravel their reality. Yet this was no ordinary treasure hunt. The temple's ancient mechanisms warped time itself, and with every step they took, the fissures grew deeper, threatening to swallow them whole. A sudden crack echoed through the chamber, sharp and unforgiving. The floor beneath Lena shifted violently, and she stumbled, grabbing Cale's arm to steady herself. His heart pounded, not just from the physical danger, but from the memories that surged unbidden to the surface. Ghostly echoes flickered in the air before him, flashes of his shattered unit, the betrayal that had left him running from his past. The spectral replay tormented him, each frame a dagger to his conscience. "You can't keep running," the phantom voices whispered, blending with the temple's eerie symphony. Cale's jaw clenched as he forced himself to focus. The past was a weight he could no longer ignore. It was the crucible forging the man who could wield the artifact or be destroyed by it. Lena's grip tightened. "Cale, look!" She pointed toward a widening fissure, spiraling like a black wound in the stone. "If that opens, it'll tear us apart." He nodded grimly, calculating their narrow window. The temple was collapsing in on itself, time unraveling in unpredictable waves. Moments stretched impossibly long, then snapped back with violent intensity. Their perceptions blurred, and even the steady beat of Cale's own heart felt displaced. "We have to move," he urged, pulling Lena gently but firmly toward a narrow passage where the artifact was rumored to rest. But the temple was unwilling to let them go so easily. The fissures fractured further, sending shards of temporal energy spiraling outward. Lena faltered, caught in a pulse that threatened to erase her from existence. "Hold on," Cale shouted, diving forward and grabbing her just as the world seemed to fracture around them. The sensation was dizzying time folding in on itself, memories and moments converging into an impossible kaleidoscope of past and present. In that suspended chaos, Cale faced the stark truth of his journey. This was more than a battle for power. It was a test of his very soul. Could he let the artifact slip through his fingers to save a life? Could he risk everything for trust instead of vengeance? Lena's eyes met his, wide with fear, but glimmering with fragile hope. "Why are you saving me?" she asked, voice barely audible over the roaring collapse. Because Cale breathed, some things are worth more than power. With every ounce of strength, he hauled her away from the fissures, just as a violent tremor tore through the chamber. The temple groaned, ancient stones shifting and cracking, but they pressed forward, breath ragged, limbs trembling with exertion and fear. Outside the temporal storm, the world felt impossibly quiet and eerie silence after the chaos. Cale knew the cost of his choice. The artifact's power was no longer fully within reach, but something deeper had been won. A fragile bond, a chance at redemption, and a glimpse of humanity beneath the mercenary's hardened exterior. Lena steadied herself, glancing at Kale with an expression that mixed gratitude and uncertainty. "We're not out of this yet," she said, "but maybe we have a chance." Kale nodded, eyes scanning the shadowed passage ahead. The fissures in time might have been held at bay for now, but the battle was far from over. The desert sands outside waited, endless and unforgiving, and Seleni's presence loomed like a dark storm. As the temple trembled and the fragile lines of reality wavered, Kale's mind sharpened. This was the crucible moment, where past and future collided, and every decision carved a new path through the shifting sands of fate. He tightened his grip on the worn locket hidden beneath his gear, a talisman from a life long lost but never forgotten. The desert had tested him relentlessly, but Kale Draven was no stranger to survival. Whatever came next, he would face it head on, with the fierce determination of a man who had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. The fissures in time closed behind them, like a wound sealing shut, but the echoes lingered. The battlefield of fate awaited, and the final confrontation was drawing near. In the heart of the red sands, where trust was scarce and betrayal was a breath away, Kale's journey was far from over. He cast a final glance at Lena, a silent promise passing between them. "Together," he said, "until the end." The temple groaned once more, and the desert swallowed their footsteps as the sands shifted, endless and eternal. The faint flicker of torchlight barely penetrated the stale air of the narrow temple corridor, casting long, jittering shadows that danced across the cracked sandstone walls. My breath came in ragged gasps, the weight of exhaustion pressing down on me like the desert heat outside, though the temperature here was cool, almost unnervingly so. I pressed my back against the jagged wall, listening intently. The distant rumble of shifting sands outside was muted, but within these ancient stones, something far more sinister whispered and pulsed, a distortion in the very fabric of time. I could hear Jarrah's footsteps approaching, slow and deliberate. The sound was familiar, yet now it felt like a trap. The dry scrape of his desert boots echoed through the passage, each step a betrayal I hadn't yet fully grasped. My mind raced back to the moments before his sudden coldness, the way he avoided my gaze, a subtle shift in his loyalties I had refused to see. He was supposed to be my guide, my friend in this unforgiving wasteland. But now I knew the truth. Kale, Jarrah's voice was low, almost regretful, but his eyes gleamed with something darker. "You don't understand what's at stake. This artifact, it's more than power. It's survival. Survival." I spat back, my voice raw with disbelief. "You're selling me out. For what? A share of power. A chance to rewrite your own fate." He didn't answer, only slipped a small, worn key into his palm, the last key to the Chronos artifact. The weight of it was heavier than any weapon I'd ever held. That key was the final piece, the one that would unlock the chamber where time itself bent and twisted. A sudden shift in the temple's air made the walls seem to ripple, the shadows elongating and contracting as if breathing. The temporal distortions were growing stronger, warping reality around us. Time wasn't just a concept here. It was a tangible force, unpredictable and dangerous. With a sudden surge, Yari spun away, disappearing deeper into the labyrinthine passages. "You won't catch me," he called over his shoulder, his tone edged with both triumph and fear. I clenched my fists, the sting of betrayal burning hotter than the desert sun. But there was no time to waste on anger. The temple was collapsing too fast, the distortions threatening to trap us forever in its shifting corridors. Outside the temple's open archways, a gust of desert wind swept through, carrying swirling sands that blurred the edges of vision and reality. I caught sight of Selene Voss standing like a statue amidst the chaos, her piercing eyes fixed on me. The silver scar along her jawline caught the flickering light, gleaming ominously. She smiled, not the warmth of a friend, but the cold assurance of a predator who knew the game's end was near. "You're losing ground, Kale," she said, voice dripping with icy confidence. "Your allies are slipping through your fingers." Before I could respond, a sudden movement caught my eye. Lena Voss, Celine's younger sister, moved swiftly through the dust-choked corridor, her goggles streaked with grime and sweat. She stopped beside me, her hands trembling as she pressed a folded note into my palm. Her eyes searched mine, silently pleading. The conflict within her was palpable loyalty to her sister, battling a growing doubt about the mission's true cost. I unfolded the note carefully, the hurried scrawl revealing a secret passage that might allow me to intercept Yari before he reached Celine. "You have to trust me," she whispered, barely audible over the howling wind outside. I nodded, the weight of my choices pressing down like the shifting sands beyond these ancient walls. Trust was a fragile thing, and betrayal had already stolen so much. The temple itself seemed to pulse with unstable energy, the corridors warping and twisting under the influence of the artifact's power. Stone archways bent at impossible angles, floors shifted beneath my feet, and the very air vibrated with a strange hum that distorted sound and sense alike. I moved quickly, heart pounding, navigating the labyrinth with a desperate determination. The scent of ancient incense lingered faintly, mingling with the dust and sweat that coated my skin. Each step brought new dangers, collapsed passages, shifting walls, and the ever-present threat of rival explorers closing in. Voices echoed ahead. Celine's mercenaries were near. I could hear their boots clattering on stone, the sharp click of weapons being readied. Yari's betrayal had not only stolen the key, but it handed our enemies the advantage. I ducked into a narrow alcove, catching my breath as the distortions around me warped the world into a surreal nightmare. Time bent and twisted, seconds stretched into minutes, and snapped back with disorienting speed. Memories of my past flashed, unbidden betrayals, loss, and the haunting image of a shattered unit left behind. But there was no time for regret. The final battle was at hand. I steeled myself, gripping my weapon tightly. Every sense was alert, every instinct screaming for survival. This temple was no longer just a tomb for ancient secrets. It was a crucible testing the very limits of my resolve. The echoes of footsteps grew louder, the air thick with tension and betrayal. Somewhere in this shifting maze, Yari held the key to my future or my destruction. As I stepped forward, the walls seemed to close in, the sands outside howling like a living beast. The final betrayal had come, but so had my fiercest determination. I would survive. I would reclaim what was lost. And I would face the sands of fate head-on, no matter the cost. The chase was far from over. The temple trembled, time fractured around me, and my story was about to reach its breaking point. The chamber was alive with a hum that vibrated in the bones. The Chronos artifact lay on its pedestal, a swirling orb of iridescent light, its surface shifting like liquid glass, caught between moments. I stepped closer, heart pounding not just from exertion, but from the weight of what this relic represented. Time twisting, bending, bleeding through the fabric of reality itself. Celine's eyes locked onto mine from across the room, cold and unyielding, her silver scar catching the flicker of the artifact's glow. "You don't understand its power," she said, voice steady but edged with desperation. "With this, I can change everything. Rewrite the past, fix what was broken." Her words echoed in the cavernous chamber, swallowed almost immediately by the eerie stillness. I could see the years of loss etched in her gaze, the obsession that drove her like a blade beneath her skin. But I knew better. Power like this was not a tool, it was a tempest, and anyone who tried to wield it risked being swallowed whole. The air thickened, charged with an energy that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. I reached out, fingertips brushing the orb's surface, and the world shuddered. Time frayed. The walls seemed to ripple, ancient hieroglyphs twisting and flickering as if alive. Outside, the desert sun flickered wildly, cycling between dawn and dusk in seconds. My breath caught in my throat. This was no ordinary relic. It was a conduit, a catalyst to forces beyond comprehension. Selene moved with a predatory grace, her eyes never leaving the artifact. "Kale," she whispered, "join me. Together, we can control this. Shape a future where our pain doesn't dictate our lives." I shook my head, wary. "You're blinded by revenge. This power will consume you like it almost consumed me." Her laugh was sharp, bitter. "Then perhaps it will be your turn to fall." The chamber trembled as the artifact pulsed, sending waves of distortion rippling through the air. Time warped around us, seconds stretched into eternities. Moments flashed like lightning. I saw memories collide, my fractured unit, the betrayal that had broken me, Selene's scarred past, and the faces of those we had lost. It was like living a lifetime in a heartbeat. Without warning, Selene lunged, hands reaching for the artifact. I intercepted her, and the world fractured. Our struggle was no longer just physical. It became a battle across the shifting tides of time. One moment, I was locked in combat with her. The next, I was watching our younger selves, ghosts trapped in an endless loop beneath the temple's sands. Jari's voice cut through the chaos from the chamber entrance. "Kale, the temple, it's destabilizing. We need to end this now." Dust cascaded in slow motion as the ancient mechanisms groaned and snapped, the structure threatening to collapse under the strain of temporal energy unleashed. The artifact's light flared, blinding and beautiful, a siren call that promised salvation or destruction. I knew then there was only one choice. To seize the artifact meant risking everything: my sanity, my soul, the fragile threads of reality. But to let Selene claim, it was to doom us all to her vision of rewritten history. With a surge of will, I grasped the orb, feeling the raw power flood through me. Time bent and twisted, memories and moments colliding in a kaleidoscope of what was, what is, and what could be. Selene screamed, a sound torn between fury and despair, as I wrestled control. The chamber shook violently, the temple's ancient stones cracking and falling. A blinding flash consumed us both, and then silence. When I opened my eyes, the desert was still. The artifact lay dormant, its power spent or contained for now. Selene was gone, vanished like a shadow swallowed by the sands. Lena and Yari were at my side, their faces etched with exhaustion and relief. But something inside me had changed. The burden of what I'd touched, the knowledge that time was no longer a constant, but a fragile thread, weighed heavy. The desert around us whispered of secrets still buried, of futures yet unwritten. I clenched my fists, feeling the worn locket against my chest, a reminder of the past I could never escape. The Chronos artifact's power was a temptation and a curse, and the sands had not finished their reckoning. "This is not over," I said quietly. "Not by a long shot." Outside, the red sands stretched endlessly, indifferent and eternal. And I, Kale Draven, was a rogue caught in the currents of time, with a destiny written in shifting grains and whispered betrayals. The hunt might have ended, but the battle for fate had only just begun. The desert held its breath, waiting for the next move. The light from the artifact dimmed to a soft glow, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. I sat on the cracked stone floor, the silence around me thick with unspoken truths. The temple's shadows stretched long and uncertain, mirroring the knot of thoughts twisting inside my mind. Selene's ambition was gone, but her obsession lingered in the air. I wondered what she had truly wanted, not just power, but a chance to fix the fractures in her history. Could I blame her? Maybe. But obsession was a poison, and I'd seen what it did to men and women alike. Yari approached, his eyes scanning the fractured chamber. We need to move before the temple collapses entirely. I nodded, rising slowly. The desert beyond awaited, vast and merciless. But something else stirred inside me, a fierce determination to hold the power I had glimpsed, to use it not for revenge or greed, but for a future I could shape with clear eyes. Lena joined us, her gaze meeting mine with something like hope and fear intertwined. What now, Kale? I looked out through the broken archway, the endless sands shimmering under the harsh sun. Now, we survive, we learn, and we prepare. Because time is no longer on anyone's side. The desert whispered around us, ancient and eternal. But I was no longer just a man running from his past. I was something more, a rogue bound to the shifting tides of fate, armed with a power that could change everything. And I wasn't going to let it slip away. The sands shifted once more, and the story was far from over. Outside, the desert sun blazed fiercely. The red sands stretched in all directions, endless and unforgiving. As we emerged from the temple's shadows, the wind carried a faint taste of change, of futures unwritten and choices yet to come. Selene was gone, but her shadow lingered. The artifact, now silent, hummed with latent power beneath the surface. I had seen the cost of wielding such might, and the price was yet to be paid. Yari clapped a hand on my shoulder. You did what you had to do. I gave a tight smile, wary but resolute. For now, that has to be enough. Lena glanced back toward the temple, then forward toward the horizon. Maybe one day, we'll find a way to use its power without losing ourselves. I looked at her, then at the endless dunes. Maybe, but that day isn't today. The desert wind picked up, carrying with it the scent of shifting sands and whispered secrets. The Chronos artifact had revealed its power, and the world was forever changed. And so was I. The red sands waited, eternal and watchful, as I prepared for the battles yet to come. The sands beneath my boots whispered ancient secrets as I walked away from the temple, the weight of the Chronos artifact's power heavy in my mind. Time had fractured, fate had bent, and the desert held its breath for what was to come. But one thing was certain. I was no longer just a rogue mercenary. I was a guardian of time's fragile thread, and the story was far from over. The desert sun dipped low, casting long shadows that stretched into the endless night. Somewhere beyond the horizon, new dangers awaited. But I would face them, one grain of sand at a time, because the red sands did not forgive. And neither would I. The chamber was alive, with a humming so deep it seemed to resonate within my bones. The Chronos artifact rested on its pedestal, glowing with an otherworldly light that pulsed like a heartbeat out of sync with the world around us. Selene stood opposite me, her eyes sharp and unyielding, the silver scar along her jawline catching the flickering glow. Around us, time itself seemed to bend and twist, seconds stretching thin before snapping back like a taut wire. It's yours for the taking, Kale, Selene said, her voice low but laced with venom. But once you touch it, there's no going back. I swallowed hard, the weight of the moment pressing down on me heavier than the desert sun ever could. Every step of this journey, the betrayals, the alliances, the relentless sandstorms, had led to this precipice. If I claimed the artifact, would it finally free me from the ghosts that chased me, or would it ensnare me deeper in this endless desert of fate? Lena, standing just behind Selene, shifted nervously. Her gaze flickered toward me, and in that glance, I caught the flicker of doubt she'd been hiding. Then, almost imperceptibly, she slipped me a small, ancient token, weathered and delicate. It was a silent plea, a fragile bridge of trust amid the chaos. The chamber walls shimmered as the artifact's energy surged, warping reality around us. Selene lunged forward, but I was faster, reaching out to grasp the artifact. The moment my fingers brushed its surface, a jolt of power surged through me. time fractured violently. The air rippled like a disturbed pond, and echoes of past and future collided in a dizzying tempest. Outside, a sudden sandstorm roared to life, its howling winds battering the temple's outer walls. Yari and Rashid scrambled to secure our camp, their shouts swallowed by the storm's fury. The desert was alive, mirroring the turmoil within. Inside, seconds stretched unbearably long, then snapped back in chaotic bursts. Voices overlapped my own past regrets, Selini's bitter curses, Lena's whispered doubts, all colliding in a cacophony that threatened to tear my mind apart. I closed my eyes, focusing on the one thing that had kept me alive through every betrayal and every brutal trial: determination. This power was magnificent and terrifying, but it was mine to command now. I would reshape the future, even if it meant sacrificing everything I once held dear. Celine screamed in rage, her form flickering like a broken reflection as the artifact's energy engulfed us both. The desert sands outside began to settle, the storm abating as quickly as it had risen, leaving behind a silence so profound it felt like the world itself was holding its breath. When I opened my eyes, the chamber was still, but nothing would ever be the same again. The cost of wielding such power was etched deep within me, and as I stepped away from the pedestal, I knew the echoes of this choice would follow me into the endless sands, forever altering the course of my life and those caught in the artifact's shadow. The desert was quiet now, but the battle was far from over. Somewhere beyond the horizon, new dangers awaited, and the sands whispered secrets I had yet to unravel. For now, I was changed, marked by the weight of destiny and the fragile hope that, perhaps, fate could still be bent. But even as I moved forward, I couldn't shake the question that gnawed at me. At what price had I claimed this power? And could I ever trust the shifting sands again? The artifact's light dimmed, but its presence lingered in my veins. The desert had not forgiven me, nor would it ever. Yet neither would I. And as I vanished into the endless horizon, the legend of Kale Draven, the rogue of the Red Sands, was only just beginning. The first light of dawn crept slowly over the horizon, casting a pale gold wash across the endless expanse of the Red Sands. From the summit of a towering dune, I stood alone, the cold bite of morning air contrasting with the lingering heat of a restless night. The desert lay vast and silent, a sea of shifting gold and ochre, unbroken except for the faint scars etched by the storms that had raged here before me. My eyes traced the horizon where the earth and sky blurred into one, the promise of another day in a land that had tested every fiber of my being. I pulled the scarf tighter against the chill, the coarse fabric rough against my weathered skin. The worn locket, hidden beneath my vest, pressed against my chest, a small, silent reminder of the past I fought to outrun. The weight of the Chronos artifact was no longer on my shoulders. I had left it behind, buried deep in the temple's heart, where its power could no longer corrupt or consume. I had made my choice not for glory or for power, but for the fragile hope of a life unshackled by the relentless sands of fate. Behind me, the faint glow of a dying campfire flickered in the pre-dawn gloom. Lena and Yari remained there, shadows in the firelight, their faces etched with the exhaustion of the journey and the unspoken tension of what lay ahead. Lena's soft features, usually guarded beneath dust-streaked goggles, now seemed vulnerable, the conflict in her eyes mirroring my own. Yari, ever the stalwart guide, wore the calm pragmatism of a man who had seen too much yet refused to surrender. Neither spoke as I packed the last of my gear, the silence between us heavy with things left unsaid. "You don't have to do this alone," Lena whispered finally, breaking the stillness. Her voice was low, almost trembling with a mix of hope and fear. I met her gaze, the weight of our shared battles reflected in her uncertain eyes. "Some roads are meant to be walked alone," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "This desert doesn't forgive, and neither do I. Yari stepped forward, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. Whatever you're chasing, Kale, remember the ground you walk on. The red sands take as much as they give. I nodded, grateful for their presence, yet resolute in my decision. The artifact's power had promised salvation, but delivered only ruin. I would rather disappear into the endless dunes than become another pawn in the cycle of obsession and betrayal that had cost so many lives. As the sun breached the horizon, its rays igniting the sands in a blaze of amber, I took my first steps away from the camp. The desert wind rose, swirling dust and grit around me, erasing the footprints of my passage almost as soon as they formed. The air was thick with the scent of dry earth and ancient stone, the ghosts of buried temples, whispering secrets I no longer sought to unravel. The desert stretched before me like an infinite ocean, its silent vastness both a refuge and a prison. Every grain of sand seemed to carry the weight of history, the betrayals, sacrifices, and shattered dreams of those who had come before. I could feel their presence in the stillness, a chorus of voices urging caution, warning of the cost of hubris. Hours passed, the sun climbing higher, beating relentlessly down upon my back. My breath came steady and measured, my senses honed to the subtle shifts in the landscape, the faint rustle of wind-blown sand, the distant cry of a desert hawk. The endless dunes rose and fell like waves frozen in time, their crests shimmering with heat. I thought of Celine, her cold eyes burning with the hunger for control that had almost consumed us all. Her silver scar, a mark of loss and obsession, haunted my memories like a warning etched into flesh. Lena's conflicted loyalty, Jerry's steadfast friendship, they were all part of this fractured tapestry woven from trust and betrayal. But now, as I walked deeper into the solitude of the desert, their faces faded into the distance. The artifacts, the alliances, the battles, they were behind me, buried beneath the shifting sands like the secrets of the temples. The wind grew stronger, carrying with it the first hints of an approaching sandstorm. The sky darkened, the horizon blurring into a swirling veil of dust and shadow. I paused, the storm's roar rising like a living thing around me, threatening to engulf everything in its path. Yet in that moment, amidst the chaos of nature's fury, I felt a fierce clarity. The desert did not forgive, but it also did not forget. It was a place of endings and beginnings, of secrets kept and stories left untold. I pressed forward, the storm swallowing my form until I was nothing more than a fleeting shadow, a whisper lost in the endless sands. What came next was unknown, a fate unwritten by time or man. And so, the legend of Kale Draven, the rogue mercenary, who dared to challenge the sands of fate and walk away from power itself, began to fade into the desert's eternal embrace. The red sands reclaimed their secrets once more, waiting patiently for the next soul brave or foolish enough to seek the Chronos artifact and face the relentless storm. The desert was silent again. The echoes of betrayal and sacrifice lingered like ghosts beneath the dunes, but the sands had moved on. And so had I.